Brought to you by Tailored Wealth, helping business leaders live their version of a rich life.
Welcome to another edition of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast, where we cut through the financial noise and help business leaders to make smart, confident money decisions. Welcome to episode number 11 of the Making Sense of Your Money podcast. I'm your host, Dan Pascone. I am the founder and CEO of Tailored Wealth, and each episode features a trusted voice in the financial world, someone who works directly with high-level professionals to simplify the complex and turn strategy into action. And today I'm really excited to welcome a special guest. We've got with us Marko Glisic, and Marko is a partner with GreenGrowth CPAs. He and his firm really specialize in sort of full-scale accounting and tax services. So Marko, it's great to have you on, and I'm pumped to have you today.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for having me. Really excited.
All right, very cool. So I know that our audience has a lot that they want to hear from you about, and we want to hear your expert take on some key topics. But do me a favor, let's just get started with, if you don't mind, provide us just like a 90-second overview of what you do and a little bit about how you got into your field.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I'm a partner at GreenGrowth CPAs. We're a full-scale CPA firm. We handle audits of publicly traded companies, private companies. We do a lot of outsourced accounting and finance, and then we also do tax compliance and tax planning. I kind of have my hands in kind of multiple things. I think maybe for this audience, maybe the most interesting part would be around that, call it outsourced accounting, outsourced finance, and the tax planning piece. Yeah, and I studied accounting in college. Interestingly enough, I graduated around 2010, right when there was the big crisis, right, and the job market was really tough. Originally, I was considering maybe getting into finance, but as you recall, all the banks were struggling. My brother studied accounting in college. He's also a professor for managerial accounting and finance, and so I just figured, you know what, this could also be a neat profession, a neat career. And so I started. You kind of go. You also talk to your professors, right? And I had very passionate and great professors in accounting, and so like, you should really consider this. It's a great career, and and they kind of went through the whole, talking to all the firms, interviewing, and then I ended up working at Deloitte in Los Angeles office in audit. I was with Deloitte all the way through senior manager, and it's kind of at that point, it gave me a good experience, a good perspective. You learn a lot. You work with Fortune 500 companies. You see really what the big players in the industry are doing. How they're organizing their business. I mean, that's one thing with audit. It's very nice is that you do get that amazing insight into a business. How do they go about pricing? How do they go about setting their strategy? How do they go about acquiring their customers? What is the right headcount? What are the reporting lines? And so if you're really curious about business, you really want to learn it. Audit is a great profession to do that. And so for me, it really kind of gave me that basis then to move on and start GreenGrowth with my partner. And, the idea with GreenGrowth was, we're a boutique firm. All of our professionals are generally from Big Four. So Deloitte, KPMG, EY, PwC. And we really want to work with small businesses and see how we can add value to them in many different ways, whether that's tax planning and compliance, or whether that's assisting them with, outsourced accounting, finance, and strategy. How they get to the next level and increase their cash flow, their EBITDA. And so we're just very, very passionate about that space.
Love it. Love it. Very cool. Great breakdown. And, I deal with a lot of CPAs and folks in the accounting business, and we've had a few of them on this show. Tell me a little bit about how you got connected with your partner and sort of how the foundation of GreenGrowth was built.
Yeah. So my partner was actually also at Deloitte, and then after that at PwC. He started off more on the tax side, versus I was kind of more the audit guy. Just kind of throughout that network, we kind of knew of each other, but we never really kind of met. And so one day, right when I kind of was leaving Deloitte, he randomly reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, I saw you online. I saw you're kind of looking for, different projects in your marketing. Hey, I have this project, this audit I need help with. I'm looking to partner up with somebody on." And I was like, "Well, hey, yeah, let me take a look." And so it was just a very kind of organic and natural way, the way our partnership started. I think usually a lot of partnerships, when they kind of start in that way, usually works out the best way. So for him, he was like, "Hey, I have great leads, but this is a service line. I don't really kind of, it's not my expertise. I don't know how to execute. Can you help? And so you kind of start working project by project, and then from there it kind of expands into into formal partnership in a big firm. And now we probably have 60 plus people or so.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, good for you. Yeah, I love it when you get sort of the partnership where 1+1 equals more than 2, right? And it sounds like that's what you guys were able to accomplish. You make 1+1 equal 3 or many more times over. It sounds like that's what you've done. I love hearing those success stories. All right, so let's talk. I know you guys are pretty comprehensive in nature at Green Growth. Tell us a little bit about your ideal client and what working with your group is all about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, a lot of clients we work with, I'd say in terms of revenues, they're probably looking at, 2 million to call it 50 million plus. We really look to work with individuals that really want to get to that next level. They're passionate about their business, and, we view ourselves as true advisors. A lot of CPA firms you work with, they're going to be more so compliance shops, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But we also want to see how we can add value. And whether that's through tax planning, and we can figure out ways to, optimize your tax structure, your entity structure, change your risk profile, save you money on taxes, or, whether that's kind of outsourced CFO work, well, we'll work with them to really break down their business. And the way I kind of think on the outsourced CFO side, really what we want to do is improve their cash flow. And once you have that improved cash flow, you can take that business many different ways, right? Whether that's, hey, you know what, I want to now just start distributing that money back to me as an owner. So now I can kind of work with somebody such as yourself, right? And kind of build my personal wealth, right? Or, you know what, I want to continue reinvesting in the business. Let me see now what could be a good strategic acquisition for me, whether that's, if I'm a manufacturer, maybe now I want to get a retail business so I can sell my product direct to the retail customer, right? Or, hey, you know what, maybe I can pick up this distributor that already has a lot of great contacts, and now I can introduce another product line, right? Or if you want to sell your business, the bigger your cash flow is, the bigger your EBITDA is as a predictor of cash flow, you're going to have a better exit. It's usually a multiple times EBITDA, the way businesses are valued. And generally, the bigger that EBITDA is, obviously, you're going to have a bigger base you're multiplying to, but then also the multiple itself will go up too. Usually the bigger your EBITDA is. And so you kind of have a multiplying effect there. And so what we love to do is, we'll come and, break down the metrics for the business. The way I kind of think about them is I would say, 3 different types of metrics. One are what I would kind of call cost monitoring, cost cutting, and internal control metrics. So things like, hey, if you have a retail business, are we stacking discounts and now losing money on discounts? Right. Or, hey, when we take in inventory and we mark it up to sell it at a retail price, are we applying that markup properly? Right? Or we have inventory that's expiring and we didn't sell it on time. So a lot of those are kind of, what I would say is, if you have good internal controls, you'll be able to make sure that you don't lose money on those things. Why just leave that money on the table? The second set of metrics is what I would call is just descriptive. Just understand what's happening with the business. Hey, why did my margin change month over month? Why did it decrease? Why did it increase? Why did my sales increase? Why did they decrease? Why did my EBITDA margin increase or decrease? That's just really understanding what's happening with the business. And then the third set of metrics is what I call metrics we use for offense, right? Because again, the main goal is you want to increase the cash flow. That's going to feed into everything. And so we want to have metrics and a system where, as we take different actions, we can quickly and easily measure it and see, does this actually make a difference, right? Did the sales go up? Did the cost go down? Did the margin go up? And you need to be able to have a good system process and metrics, so you're able to really, really measure that and see the impact, right? And with businesses, a lot of it is just then testing different things. Right. You set your strategy, you start executing, and you want to very early on discover whether it's working or not.
Yeah, very cool. Great stuff. I always use the term, we fire a bullet and then we fire a cannonball, and that's our testing mechanism. That's a Jim Collins reference for those that are following, but fire the bullet first, test it, get data, see how it works. And then if it works, then you fire the cannonball. So I love that strategy. And it really sounds like you and your team are true partners to your clients. This is not just we're going to file your taxes and we're going to keep your books straight. You're helping them make key business decisions, which I love to see. And I think makes for a higher level partnership, and frankly, a better discussion for us today too, which I enjoy. So tell me, if you don't mind, Marko, let's talk a little bit about the challenges that your clients face. It sounds like you've got clients that are in a pretty wide array of different industries and product line focuses, but what are maybe some of the biggest challenges that when you're engaging with a client, you're helping them to overcome?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say, every business, when you start working with them, they're going to be in a different stage. What I say, there's a life cycle, so you're going to have guys that are just starting off, they might have, raised some money, and now they're kind of trying, their first step now is get to being cash flow neutral.
Right.
Get to being cash flow positive, right? Now, the guys that are cash flow positive, I would say, for them now it's okay, well, can you actually start returning the capital and making a return for yourself, for your partners, right? And then I would say, we're going to have guys that are now actually kind of growing at a good pace. Then it's like, strategically, where do you want to position yourself, right? Are we now working towards an exit, or you want to sell your business? Are we working towards greater expansion through M&A? Or as we talked about, are we just going to turn this into a lifestyle business and, hey, let's just cash flow really hard and build personal wealth? I think regardless of which stage they are, usually the main challenge we see, I would say two things. One is data. When you work with like large companies, Fortune 500 companies, they're going to have good systems where they can easily get data and they can make these decisions quickly and get that feedback quickly. With smaller businesses, you don't see that. They're going to have an ecosystem of systems that they're using. So maybe for their general ledger, they're using QuickBooks. For their billing, they're using something else. For the point of sale, it's going to be another system. And so just for them to get the data in one spot and being able to analyze is a huge challenge. And so usually what we'll do is we use Power BI and other softwares. We can kind of pull in all that data in one central space and then be able to analyze it. So I would say data is one, just being actually able to get it. The other one is then really setting that structure around the goals. What are their personal goals? What are their business goals? And then how does that trickle down to the rest of the organization? Given that this is the goal for the business, then what is the goal for your salesperson? What is the goal for your customer representative? What is the goal for your HR, right? Should it be now focused on hiring, or is it, hey, let's maintain the culture, right? So I'd say those are two main things. And I think for a lot of businesses, every business is different, but I feel like if you can solve for those two things, get the data, set the objectives, it's things start falling into place really quickly. And I think people feel it. And I think there's that sense of when things click, they click. And you can just feel it. There's like something emotional about it that just feels amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what I heard there is it's taking sort of the vision and the goals and the objectives of the leadership team and making sure that that's aligned from the top down. And that is so critical in any organization. And I've seen it go well, and I've seen it not go well with in my own personal career, and then with other clients that we've advised. So really, really good talking points there. All right, tell us a little bit, Marko, around. We're going to get into and have you share, your information with the audience later, but how do people find you? How do you get connected with clients? And tell us a little bit about like the way that a business owner finds your firm and gets connected with you ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. We're, they can reach out to us on our website, on LinkedIn. We used to have a very good YouTube channel. We're also restarting that as well. We truly believe in providing a lot of content, valuable content, and being the thought leaders in space. And really any of those, I love when people first kind of read our stuff and get value from it. And then from there, just when we start working together, that trust is already there. And I feel, is when you work with a client, that trust is everything. Trust isn't there, there's really no relationship.
Percent. I mean, we could spend hours talking about that concept. And I love what you said. I mean, obviously, trust is key in any client relationship, especially when you're dealing with finances, right? I mean, I think it even steps up a level when you're dealing with finances. The other thing that I heard you say is you're creating content to sort of build, or at least start to build, that level of trust, which I have found to be super, super impactful. And especially in today's day and age, there are so many distractions. And frankly, there are so many places that people can go. And it's a smaller world in many ways because, like geography is really not a barrier by any stretch anymore. So the ability to build trust with someone before you probably even talk to them in many cases is such a powerful concept. And I love that you're doing that through content. That's obviously a category that we've invested heavily in and made a big portion of our business dedicated to. So that's great to hear. What about potential partners partners that you work with, other folks in financial services that you maybe interact with or share referral relationships with? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, we always kind of look towards other trusted service advisors as a good source of referral and building relationships for that with them. So, attorneys are usually great. In our business, usually the first person a business owner talks to when they're setting up their entity key agreements is an attorney. So then we're usually then the second in the line is what I would say is where we kind of plug in to then help set their infrastructure, set their finances, accounting, and kind of move them to the next level. Also, a lot of financial advisors. Now hopefully when you're cash flowing and you're building your business, now you can actually take that money and maybe kind of put it in other places. Maybe everybody loves their business. I love my business, but at some point you also want to de-risk a little bit and maybe, hey, you know what, I want to place it in these other instruments and vehicles, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's super key. We obviously collaborate with a lot of CPAs. I think it's so critical to have like your business strategy as a business owner, your business strategy and your personal financial strategy aligned, because to your point, the two really do go hand in hand. And I think a lot of people miss this concept. And I frankly did when I first started the business, and I'm in the financial services industry, right? It's about sort of having, what do I want to accomplish from a personal wealth perspective? And then how do my business decisions drive that, right? So if you're looking for the big exit in 5 years and you want to go retire and sit on the beach somewhere, well, that's going to change your decision-making process versus, hey, I want to invest. And I'm sort of playing the long game and as far as returns are concerned. So I think that's really critical. And that's why we love interacting with folks like you as well. All right. Tell us maybe a little bit about the industry. Where do you see your industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? I know that you mentioned to me some stuff that you guys are doing sort of in the IT space with AI and automation. Maybe talk a little bit about what you're doing there and maybe where you see your industry going from there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think our industry is probably going to change quite a bit over the next 5 to 10 years. And I think as you talk to professionals, I think everybody realizes it. With some people, they're vocal about it, but I think for a lot of other people, there's maybe that kind of minimal stress that's in the background where they're anxious about it. Hey, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my job? And I kind of view it a little differently. I genuinely do think that AI and automation in general will be something that can transform the profession in a positive manner. In our profession, there's a lot of kind of compliance tasks. There's a lot of manual work, and you only have so many hours in your day. And so now the question is, are you spending those hours building a relationship with your client, advising them, or are you spending those hours on those, what you would maybe kind of call lower value tasks? And so I think automation and AI can really transform that and really work in a great way. I think a lot of people, when they think about AI, they're thinking, hey, it's it's going to take away from that personal touch. I'm talking to a bot, I'm talking to an agent, right? But the reality is it should free us up where now we can really build those relationships, human to human. And I think that could be really, really huge. So on our end, we're trying to heavily invest in that and really look at all our workflows. And we have in-house IT team that's actually working through it and trying to see, hey, if we can solve this for ourselves, then we can solve this for other firms as well.
I love that concept. And I love the way you're thinking about AI and automation, which is, to your point, there are a lot of people that view it as like humans or robots, right? A lot of people see it that way, right? But the reality of it is if it's used efficiently and effectively, what this should be is it should provide us an opportunity to have more humanization, more human interaction, and allow the humans to do what we do best, which is this kind of stuff: interact with each other, advise each other, collaborate with each other, build relationships. And if you do it the right way, then I think that's a really, really valuable outcome. So I love that. All right, great stuff. I enjoyed learning about your business. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and learn about you. So Marko, you are officially entering the lightning round, which anybody that's listened to the podcast before knows that I never tell our guests about the lightning round because we want it to be super authentic. And all I ask here is we're going to ask a series of questions. Just give us the first thing that comes to your mind. Some of them are one-word answers. Some of them you can spend some time elaborating and giving us your thoughts on. You ready?
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
All right. What's one tool or piece of technology, it could be hardware or software, other than your computer or your phone, that you can't live without?
Oh man, that's That's an interesting one. And I mean, I'm an accountant, so I guess I would have to say QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. Okay,
We
that
need
makes sense.
QuickBooks. We just we can't live without it.
That makes sense. That's a good answer for an accountant. I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, very good. Do you have a favorite quote or phrase about money or success?
I guess I would say a quote. I guess the thought that comes to me is that you just have to be deliberate. Things just don't happen. I don't believe as much in happenstance. I think you really gotta just go for it. I think you gotta define your goal. I think you gotta grab the bull by its horns and just like go for it, right?
Grab the bull by its horns. That's your phrase. I love it. I love it. Very good.
Yep,
Very
yep.
good. I'm with you on that one. Do you have a favorite book on finance or business?
A lot. God, I love E-Myth.
Okay,
E-Myth is
good one.
great. I think just phenomenal for anybody starting off. I mean, it's huge, right? Kind of breakdown between, the technician, the manager, right? The owner. Amazing book. I think one by Gary Keller, highly recommend. He built Keller Williams. So just like how much focus you need to have and you really kind of you need to define every day, what is that one thing you got to solve for? So I'd say those are kind of the two that come to my mind.
All right. So you deal with a lot of corporate and business finances. Do you have a personal finance hack or really any hack in general that you could share with the audience?
I mean, just get a good expense tracker.
Yeah.
He's Monarch, so it's highly recommended.
Yep. That one's getting really popular. I'm hearing that one come up a lot lately. All right, very cool. All right, give us one bucket list item that maybe you've already accomplished. So something that you've checked off the bucket list.
That I've already checked off the bucket list. I mean, I'd say doing an acquisition. I think for us, we always wanted to acquire another firm, and we've done that. So I think that was a big item for us.
Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about the acquisition.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was an interesting process. It was a little, it was a good perspective because we'll work with the clients on the other side where you're advising the clients, right? And obviously, but now it's a little different because now you kind of have more of your skin in the game, if that makes sense. Obviously, when you work with a client, you care, you want to make sure it succeeds and you want to provide the best advice. But now when you kind of have more on the line, it's kind of interesting also the way, your risk profile and some of these things change. So it was a very interesting perspective. And I think you just learn a lot about it. You learn a lot about business, the way deals are structured, how to integrate systems, the whole thing. Yeah. The deal stage is super exciting. We're negotiating the deal and you get the deal done. The integration implementation, that's a little rougher.
Yeah. So.
you gotta do it, But if you can execute on that one, then it can be really a winner.
Very cool. Congratulations on that. What's one financial milestone, either personally or professionally, that you're still working towards?
You said financial one? I think, I guess getting into a place where I'm able to build a truly passive income. And I think a lot of people talk about passive income and all that, but to me, it's like a truly passive income where you kind of, you close your eyes for most of the month, and then, once a month you take a look at it and it's still cash flowing. The return still comes, and then it's a meaningful amount, right? Where that would literally be able to replace my income fully.
Very cool. Good for you. Good for you. That's a great goal to work toward, 100%. Last one. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Man, that's there's so much. There's so much, especially as you go through business. God, I mean, if it's one thing, I would say maybe when I was younger, kind of be bolder.
Okay.
And make moves sooner.
Cool.
I think that'd be the one thing. Yeah.
I love that. Take the bull by the horns, right? I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very cool. All right. And then lastly, you mentioned a little bit about your content and your platforms earlier, but if our listeners want to connect with you, whether it be to collaborate, work with you, learn more about what you do, what's the best way for them to find?
Probably best on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm active. So if you guys send me a message, I'll make sure I respond.
Very good. I'm looking forward to checking out Marko's content myself on LinkedIn. As you know, we're very active in our community on LinkedIn. So I'm looking forward to checking out your stuff and maybe resharing it with my audience as well. So Marko, amazing to have you on. Really, really enjoyed the discussion. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Dan.
You bet, man. So that's it for the episode. As always, keep your strategy sharp, your goals clear, and your money working as hard as you do. Cheers, everybody.